I know this is a bit cliche, but let me ask you, do you have an emergency fund? Well, after watching this video, you'll know why you need to have it. An emergency fund may be helpful if you're having trouble paying your bills or find that you can't afford unforeseen expenses. According to experts, a liquid reserve of at least 3 to 6 months worth of living expenditures is advised. Why? Your emergency fund protects you in the event of an unforeseen financial setback and can aid in keeping you out of debt. It also offers comfort in the event that you lose your job, become unable to work due to illness, or need to pay for a pricey home or car repair. You should endeavor to increase the size of your emergency fund for a variety of reasons. These are 8 justifications for why you ought to have an emergency fund. What is an emergency fund? An emergency fund, often known as a rainy day fund, is money placed aside to pay for unanticipated and frequently expensive situations. These reserves are intended to be used for actual, immediate necessities, such as paying rent when your income stops coming in or covering an unexpected medical expense. The primary advantage of having an emergency fund is that it enables you to pay for daily expenses without having to use credit cards, loans, or the equity in your home. A personal slush fund for when your skis break or you're eyeing a new outfit for your best friend's wedding isn't an emergency. It's just as crucial to understanding why you require an emergency fund as it is to know when to use one. Why do we need to have emergency funds? Number 1. You only have one income. It's crucial to have a sizable emergency reserve if you only have one source of income. It can assist you if the main breadwinner becomes unwell and is unable to work, or if you have an unexpected job loss. You need to have enough money saved up for emergencies if you have a single income or are a single person. After paying off your debt, you can start to accumulate a bigger emergency fund. It's possible that you need to raise your emergency savings if you're just starting a family. Work on establishing your emergency savings as soon as you can if you're single. Number 2. If you're contractual or self-employed. It's crucial to have a strong emergency fund set up if you work for yourself as an independent contractor or in a position that prevents you from claiming unemployment benefits. Also, if you anticipate that your contract will expire soon, you should try to increase the amount in your emergency fund. Aside from this, you might want to set aside more money for months when business is slow. To ensure that you don't forget to make any required payments, keep track of your bills. You can prevent utilizing your emergency fund by doing this. Number 3. You're trying to slowly pay off your debts. With every financial setback, your emergency fund might protect you from accruing further debt. You can use an emergency fund to pay for unforeseen expenses like car repairs or medical bills. Use your emergency fund to deal with these difficult situations and make it simpler for you to maintain your attention on paying off your debt. When you have a reserve set aside for unforeseen costs, it's simpler to make additional loan payments straight away. Until it's completely funded, include an emergency contribution in your budget. Number 4. You own your house. When you own a home, you're responsible for all maintenance and repairs. Even while you should set up a sinking fund to pay for renovations and the majority of repairs, you might incur unforeseen costs such as air conditioning or plumbing issues. Your emergency fund can assist you in handling these expenses and reduce some of the stress associated with house ownership. As well as upgrading an air conditioner or furnace, home maintenance can be pricey. Try allocating money to save for these costs in advance. Make sure to include tax planning in your budget. Number 5. You live far away from your loved ones. Traveling back home can be pricey, and the expenses rise if you have to leave at the last minute due to an emergency. In the event of a medical emergency or a funeral, it helps to have a good emergency fund set up to pay for the price of last-minute tickets to go home or visit other family members. Calculate the price of a plane ticket and other expenses, then start saving money. Keep in mind that last-minute reservations are frequently more expensive. Number 6. You're saving for your personal goals. Your emergency fund can prevent you from using your resources for unforeseen expenses if you're working toward a goal like owning a home or opening a business. By doing this, you can keep these goals from sliding backward. While rebuilding your emergency fund may cause a slight slowdown in your forward movement, you'll still be able to keep the money you're saving for yourself. Your savings will be well protected in this way. You can achieve your long-term financial goals by having an emergency fund. Consider your emergency savings as a form of insurance against unforeseen costs. Number 7. You have medical issues. You might use up all of your annual deductibles due to a serious medical issue. You might also need to use up all of your sick time or have frequent tests that mount up quickly, forcing you to take unpaid leave. You can manage these expenses and find it simpler to get through these trying times with the aid of an emergency fund that's adequately funded. The cost of medical difficulties might be high, and insurance companies might not always pay what you want them to. Also, you can miss work and exhaust your sick leave, which could result in more serious problems. Your emergency fund can assist in balancing this. Number 8. You just started budgeting. When you initially begin budgeting, you might be unintentionally omitting some of the costs you need to anticipate. Some of these costs can be covered by your emergency fund this first year. If other costs arise, you can add them to your budget. These include recurring costs like taxes, as well as other things like gifts or organization fees. Your emergency fund can come in handy while you make budget adjustments. Write down any unforeseen costs as they occur, then update your budget to account for them in the future. You shouldn't incur any unforeseen costs after a few months. Number 9. You own high-maintenance pets. You might be able to afford the usual costs associated with pet ownership, but if your cat or dog needs surgery, would you be willing to pay thousands of dollars? Robert Long, the managing editor of Keiplinger.com, spent $13,000 on 2 medical emergencies for his dog in 2017. He received more than $4,000 from a pet insurance policy, but there was still about $9,000 in out-of-pocket costs that he had to cover with money from an emergency fund. Number 10. Emergency travel. You can be forced to pay a hefty price for a last-minute aircraft ticket to the funeral due to a death in the family. You don't want this significant expense to accrue interest on your credit card account for a long time. But if you had enough money set aside in an emergency fund to cover your debt right away, you wouldn't have to be concerned. Now here are frequently asked questions on emergency funds. Why build an emergency fund? Well, this is a wise decision. The most crucial distinction between those who are able to maintain their financial stability and others who are sinking may be the existence of an emergency savings account. This is due to the fact that having an emergency fund of $500 to $1,000 enables you to readily handle unforeseen financial issues like repairing your car's brakes, purchasing your child's required new shoes, replacing a window in your home that's broken, paying for your child's hospital visit while they have the flu, covering the cost of a painful cavity's dental work, settling a parking fine, and flying to an ill parent's side. Your emergency fund not only enables you to pay for these costs, but also offers you the assurance that you can manage these kinds of monetary situations. Lack of emergency funds is a major factor why many people take out excessive amounts of high-interest debt. For instance, Americans may not need to borrow $2 billion in payday loans annually at interest rates ranging from 300 to 500% if they had emergency reserves. So how do you find the money to save? Saving money can be done in a variety of places. Start with the spare change that a lot of people collect. Each year, people typically save more than $100 in spare change. Create and expand a savings account with this change. Use a percentage of any tax refunds or earned income tax credits you get to start or grow your savings. You might be able to open a savings account and still have enough money to pay off debts or cover other expenses because the tax credits typically amount to close to $2,000 in total. Attempt to deposit any money you've saved by reducing little unneeded expenses. There are more than 20 suggestions for cutting expenses on the America Saves website and the Build Wealth Not Debt brochure. These suggestions include things like bringing your own lunch, switching from daily lattes to daily coffees, and not bouncing checks. If you enlist your entire family in overcoming this issue, creating an emergency fund can be simpler. Your partner or kids may even assist in opening the account after you've discussed to them the value of emergency savings. Also, they'll be more likely to comprehend why increasing these savings is more crucial for you than purchasing pricey presents for Christmas or birthdays. Now, where should I keep my emergency fund? Keeping your emergency savings in a bank account specifically designated for this use can be a good idea. Your emergency fund shouldn't be a part of your regular checking or savings account. To minimize the temptation of dipping into it, some experts even advise maintaining your emergency fund account at a completely different bank. It can be dangerous to save money at home because it could be taken from you, lost, or even destroyed in an emergency situation like a fire. Lastly, how should I start an emergency fund? Determine how much of each paycheck you can responsibly spare by starting with your budget. Then, as soon as you get paid, make it a point to deposit that money into your designated savings account. Consider opening an interest-bearing savings account with your bank or credit union if you want your savings to grow for you. Compare banks to see if one offers the highest yearly percentage yield. Always remember, make sure to save money for your emergencies because you will have them. I hope you received value from this video. If so, like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Please share this video with your like-minded friends. Till next time.